At Rise FM, top of the hour. Here's the news.
Says it's frivolous to determine which party is responsible for the name change.
And this is one of the unifying acts that the country could have ever done, and we applaud it and we salute it. It should have been done long ago.
Representatives from the EFF and ANC have told Eyewitness News that they're still going ahead with the renaming of the Orlando Stadium after Madikizela Mandela. Thabiso Koba, Eyewitness News, Sandton.
Meanwhile, the ANC says it hopes honouring Madikizela Mandela will bring comfort to the Mandela family as it mourns the loss of her granddaughter Zoleka. The renowned author and activist passed away yesterday after a long battle with cancer. City of Cape Town Mayor Jordan Hill-Lewis has signed a major incident declaration for parts of the city worst affected by the recent Cape storm. This means additional resources and relief measures will now be made available to deal with the aftermath of the recent storm. At least 8 people have died as a result of the severe weather conditions this past weekend. Hill-Lewis says municipal officials are working around the clock to assist various communities.
It was very important for me to have visited the affected areas in Salari's Pass Village and Rustic Camp in particular, and to make an assessment of the number of structures that will need to be rebuilt and people needing immediate relief due to the damages. Today, as Mayor, I have signed the necessary documents required to declare a major incident, which will enable a greater response.
And Electricity Minister Kgosientsho Ramokgopa says his priority is to ensure the expansion of the national grid is treated with urgency. Ramokgopa has announced at a briefing today that Eskom is looking to improve the country's transmission network. Alpha Ramoshwana has more.
The South African government will need more than 100 billion rand by the start of the next financial year to fund the expansion of the national grid. This will be on top of Eskom's already strained budget and the bailouts it has received from National Treasury over the past years. But Electricity Minister Kgosientsho Ramokgopa says failure to treat the expansion of the national grid with urgency will be a hindrance to the implementation of the Energy Action Plan.
But what I want to emphasize is the speed with which we are able to make these decisions. Otherwise, we're going to sit on the transmission side with the same problems we're sitting with on the generation side. Is the speed of that decision making.
Government is yet to establish the funding model for the national grid's expansion. Alpha Ramoshwana, Eyewitness News.
A cloudy Wednesday in store for Gauteng tomorrow with showers and thunder showers. Lerato Hufela, Eyewitness News.
Eyewitness News on 947. For more, click ewn.co.za.
#MSW. You may begin to feel anxious or excited.
Honest, deliberate, engaging, uncensored.
High dosage administration can cause adverse reactions.
And most importantly, independent in mind and execution.
This is a normal response. Are you ready?
Marawa Sports Worldwide.
I benefited and I have no shame. Some people have been getting all these benefits. I will get them. I want them for 5 games in a row. I've got no shame on that.
Has he come out? Ireland have done it. The number 1 team in the world. They have beaten the Springboks.
Jock and the Boks still win the World Cup from you.
Hendrik, yeah. We can still.
We're underway. Brandon Peterson under immediate pressure, and he could be in trouble here. Yes, Shalulile. Goal! Superb!
I am very proud to announce the venue for the final. We are going to Moses Mabhida Stadium.
Was really embarrassing, and I feel for these kids. They're gonna carry this on for the rest of their careers and feel this until they get to come back here again, rectify it. But if I'm a player and I'm gonna carry on here, if I'm a player from a player's point of view, I'm not following a guy that's sitting having a meeting with another national team, potentially looking for another job.
Robert Marawa, live on 947. Vuma FM, Rise FM, and Sowetan Live. #MSW.
Just so that we keep your days properly aligned, it is Reaction Tuesdays on 947 with F&B, a proud sponsor of the Springboks. F&B a division of First Rand Bank Limited. Good evening, welcome to it. It's hashtag Marawa Sports Worldwide, live at 947, Vuma FM, Rise FM, and Sowetan Live. You don't miss a beat. The room dividers are in place.
Hardcore action at the Rugby World Cup.
Nos Buerta, our former Springbok fly-half, leader, legend, you name it. When you look at guys like Coach Jacques Nienaber, Rassie Erasmus as the director of rugby, and also Felix Jones, the assistant, I mean, they all spend time coaching in Ireland.
So you know the mentality of the players. You know who you're playing against. What I love about Ireland is the detail they did bring to the game. I heard the other night, and that's quite impressive. Doesn't matter how we look at it. They had 3 yellow cards in the last 26 international. Now that's discipline of note. That's one. They understand one thing. To win any game, you need to keep all 15 on the park for 80 minutes. That's another one. The 50-50 pass. They will not just throw it. If it's on, they play it. If it's not on, they don't do it.
Little show of the ball and away he goes.
Living the dream. Hashtag MSW for rugby reality. It's an ever-clear fact that rugby analysis is still stuck in the year 2015. Just one flimsy opinion against another. With no empirical evidence to back up these statements, the room dividers will change all that. Every Tuesday, feel the heat as Robert, Dando and Ashwin ask the hard questions on hashtag MSW on 947. Vuma FM, Rise FM, and Sowetan Live.
All right, hope you had a great long weekend and recovered from all the results that are rugby-based. We're also live on the YouTube channel. If you want to catch this conversation, it's going to be largely driven by you because we want your thoughts and opinions on what happened over the weekend. 060-708-0484, 060-708-0484. Otherwise, you can dial us directly into studio, 011-883-8947, 011-883-8947. Maybe Wales would have dominated the conversations around the braai, the fireplace, wherever you might have been. Head coach Warren Gatland saying that hard work is responsible for Wales's turning crisis into joy. As team becoming the first side to reach the Rugby World Cup knockout stages, and we congratulate them. Well done indeed. And they showed. I mean, that record win over Australia just over, 6 months ago, Welsh rugby was in a pretty dark place. If you follow this very closely, you would know. They were in a very dark place. Uncertainty over a deal between the Welsh Rugby Union as well as its regional clubs, leaving players worrying about their futures. But look at them now.
I thought we were pretty clinical in a lot of areas. There's probably a few things in opposition 22 we need to tidy up in terms of creating a bit more width. We got a little bit narrow at times, but I thought we were that first line out stuff where Jack's gone through and then passed to Gareth. I thought we were sharp there. We created some opportunities, and they never really threatened us from an attacking perspective, which was very pleasing from our side of our point of view. Before the Six Nations, and then contract issues and players being offered, and for them, just understanding the frustrations from them in terms of their security and future and families and stuff, and I fully understood that, and probably I didn't realise at the time the impact that had on the coaching staff, and probably even myself. I kind of went, I've just got to sit back and let things unfold, and potentially wait until after the Six Nations, and then when you can get a squad together, and we've been together nearly 4 months now, 4 months tomorrow actually when we first came into camp, and then you can put the detail and the preparation and the hard work, which we've always prided ourselves on, because we're such a small nation in terms of as a tier 1 nation in terms of our playing numbers, and we're proud of the fact that the success has been based on hard work and punching above our weight, and we get confidence from results like tonight and building momentum, and that makes us even more dangerous going forward.
All right, when you talk about dangerous moving forward, Could I introduce the gentleman here? I mean, Ireland's narrow 13-8 win over South Africa will go down as the tournament's first true example of what you and I can call vintage, pure test rugby match. But it was spellbinding in parts. Many parts, in fact. Aishwin Willems, Tando Manana, the room dividers here in studio. Gentlemen, good evening. Welcome to it.
Evening, Robbie.
Good evening, Rob. Evening, Tando.
Ashi, how are you?
Good. Can't complain. Thank you. Yourself?
Always good. Always good.
You guys have settled things. You ready to rumble? We played Wales there. Wales post-match. Maybe let me begin there. Yeah. Because, guys, we got to give them the credit. We got to give them the honor. They've qualified through now. They have put in the hard work. I talked about a dark place that they were in at a certain stage not so long ago. What's been the difference? What can we learn from the Wales experience?
Rob, if I can chip in, Warren Gatland is a great coach. I think Wales did something wonderful. In a sense, they brought him back. Pride was put aside. Mm-hmm. They understood that we need to get a proper coach when we go to France that can actually take this team. Because as he said, they had big problems. Strikes was, at the door end. For them to happen, it would have just derailed their whole sort of campaign. I mean, 4 months is quite a long time. I think even the Springboks did not have that 4 months in preparation of, but obviously due to seasonal rugby seasons, one being in the northern and us in the southern, because we still had URC up until the end of May leading up to this tournament. So for me, I'm of the view that his experience as one, he's been there, he's won the Grand Slam, he's won the Six Nations, so he knows the players, and I think he has a way to talk to the players, and the players have a lot of belief in him that he can really get the best out of him. So I think that game against Australia, I mean, as much as Australia, when it started, I actually thought Australia are actually coming here for a win, and they might get that win in the first 15 minutes. But when things didn't come through, then you could actually see that they've sort of tired the Australian team, and now they were starting to come into shape, knowing when to exactly execute in terms of their kicks, turning them back, tiring them down, because all of a sudden understood that they don't have much experienced players. Will Skelton was not even in the team. If you look, so many guys that were part of the team were actually young guys. So by wearing them down, he sort of then came in and slowly but surely kept on biting up until eventually I saw the score was 40-something, 6, and I said to myself, gee whiz, I didn't notice that the score has actually creeped up so nicely for them. So it was just pressure most of the time, and then execute and punish when they needed to punish. So I think same thing as the Fijians, they did exactly the same thing. And I think, with Eddie Jones, it's exactly the vice versa. Australia brought him in.
I'm going to come to Eddie in a second. Let's wrap up the Welsh conversation, because I think in part, Tando talks about the actual game plan and how it worked itself out and how the points kept ticking away, and that there was no counter from Australia. We'll reserve the Eddie chat, because when I listen to him, get the response from both of you guys and see maybe what his future is or isn't as far as Australian rugby is concerned. But for Wales, what stood out for you?
Well, I think, Rob, obviously, I think we spoke about it before. So historical context, when Tando talks about Wales, he's been watching, being part of that journey and known that. So in the absence of that, I think if I were to look at the Welsh performance, it was a class outfit. They went up against an opposition of which you could see that they knew exactly that Australia's up for the taking. And so how to exploit that when you play against a nation like Australia, who's a powerhouse global rugby, historically speaking, and it's North versus South. So you could see that for me, it was really the confidence of saying, this is ours for the taking. So let's go out there and let's make sure that we leave a mark. And that's what the Welsh have done. I mean, here you have a team who has convincingly beat Australia. Australia's gone to the World Cup with their own expectations of how they would like to perform as a team. But I think when you come up against a quality opposition like this, you can see it's really that confidence and belief. And I think, listening to Tando, I think if there's one thing the coach has done, and Gatland is a seasoned campaigner, to be able to convince or to put that belief in your team to say, regardless of the opposition today, we're going to go out there and we're going to dominate this game. They came in the first couple of minutes, go and score, not just any try. You could see that the try it's perfectly well executed. And then Australia bouncing back within the first couple of minutes, trying to sort of resuscitate that glimpse of concentration, but thereafter it was really a one-sided affair, the dominance, as to how they've gone about it. So I think it was really about the confidence and the belief. So to foster that in a pool game before the knockout stages, I think that really is what was the telling takeout for me in the game.
And, you talk about takeout, great choice of words there, Ashwin, because Australia's coach, we were talking about Eddie Jones, he says he remains 100% committed to the task of turning Australian rugby around. His young side, thrashed by Wales. Elimination from the World Cup is a possibility right now at a pool stage of the tournament. And you go back and you remember that he was hired on a 5-year contract in January. But then a report in the Sydney Morning Herald has cited sources as saying that he had been interviewed about returning to the Japan job when Jamie Joseph leaves after the World Cup. Here's a man with all the experience, 63 years old, sacked after 7 years as England coach last December, kind of continuing with Australia. Is that an option for him right now?
And we're disappointed. We've got a young team in there who's very disappointed. They tried their hearts out, but unfortunately at the moment we just don't have the consistency in our play to put pressure on teams like Wales. We do some good things and then we fall away. It's very disappointing.
Eddie, are you still fully committed to this Australian project?
Yeah, 100%.
How? Why do you feel that way?
I came back to Australia to try to help. At the moment I'm not giving much help, am I? But that doesn't mean my commitment to help them has changed. I'm a proud Australian. I hate to see Australian rugby do as poorly as we've been doing, particularly under my reign. Came back to want to try to help, but there's not only the Wallabies we've got to improve, we've got to improve the whole system of Australian rugby, and that's not an excuse. But we've got to have a really good look at ourselves and see what we've got to do to improve the way we're going about our rugby.
Did you do a job interview with Japanese rugby a couple of weeks before the World Cup? And if so, what was the thinking?
I don't know what you're talking about, mate. I really take umbrage at the questioning, that people are questioning my commitment to coaching Australia. I really take umbrage at it. I've been working non-stop since I've come here, and I apologise for the results. I keep saying that. But to doubt my commitment to the job, I think, is a bit red hot. So we're not going to deal with any of those questions any further. So I'm happy to talk about Wales. I'm happy to talk about Portugal. If you want to keep going down that line, I'll excuse myself.
Sure, I'll excuse myself. Is this the sound of a desperate man, a spent man as far as Australian rugby is concerned?
Rob, my issue, he made Will Skelton, the captain of Australia, letting go a man of many seasons.
Yeah.
Hooper.
Said Hooper, yeah.
You don't just do that. Quade Cooper, you let him go. You don't just do that. You can't do it. And knowing that you're going to face tough opposition. How old is Johnny Sexton, Robert Marawa? He's 38 years. Yeah. So therefore, for me, this is a type of person that actually needs to be sort of excused from rugby, from within the rugby fraternity. He's not doing rugby any good.
As a whole? You're saying he must be excused from rugby as a whole, not even go to Japan?
No, Rob. What is it going to do in Japan? Jamie Joseph has tried his utmost best. I think 2019 would forever be the best Rugby World Cup campaign for that country.
Yeah.
2019. Rightfully so by Jamie Joseph. The former All Black flanker himself. He's continued to do some tremendous work. And I just feel that if Eddie goes there, he's going to regress Japan instead of just getting a nice young coach to take them forward. If you look at Farrell, he was in England, was chased from the England job. He went to the Irish. He started his own thing, was given enough room to do whatever he wanted to do. And all of a sudden, the belief is there in the Irish country. The belief is there with Galtier as well, with the French. Let young coaches come in, good, innovative, thinking, sort of the energy is there. What energy are you going to get from Eddie Jones who speaks like that? You can't walk away. You've got to face responsibility. What if he's lying, Robert, and he's proven that he did meet with the Japanese for that interview? What if that comes then in? Then you have to play back.
Should he say goodbye to rugby as we head into the break? Ashley, let me take your thought about that. You know Eddie Jones through many years as a rugby player yourself and knowing what kind of input he's had historically, but where he finds himself now.
Tanda said, don't just do it. I think, Eddie is in a Mani Libbok situation. a game in the World Cup, you miss the penalties, and everybody says that you should be replaced with somebody that can actually knock over those penalties. All of a sudden, whatever you bring to the game is almost sort of being forgotten about, and there's that one thing. Eddie's in that position, and he's up against a heavy storm. The coach that Eddie is, I think, has still got a lot of value to add. One can, go on other days where you look at a guy like that and you just think that he's no good anymore. I think Eddie doesn't do himself any favors. And certainly by losing in the way which is done throughout this World Cup, I think the question whether or not he should go, in the intro, it was introduced where he said the Australian project.
Yes.
And if it's seen as a project, the next World Cup is in Australia at home. It'll have an entire build-up phase towards that. And the question is, does the Australian public, does the rugby public have the patience to deal with Eddie?
I'm going to deal with that as soon as we come out of the break, because it's about what the residents of Sydney were saying, including some former CEO of Randwick Rugby Club, Warren Lewis, also Plumbers Adam Webb, rugby editor of the Raw, Christy Doran. They had plenty to say, I can tell you that much. Ashwin, you don't want to miss this. Coming up.
Back on your radio by popular demand. It's the infamous Room Dividers with Robert Marawa, Tando Manana and Ashwin Willemse. Tuesdays on #MSW947. Vuma FM, Rise FM and Soweto Live.
Save big on fresh at Food Lovers Market with Big Deal Wednesday. Buy 2 1 kg tomato thrift packs for only 39 Rand and get 2 lettuce pre-packs absolutely free. That's 2 tomato thrift packs for 39 Rand and 2 lettuce pre-packs free. And enjoy delicious pork rib and loin chops at just $69.99 per kilo. Valid this Wednesday only at all Inland Food Lovers Market stores. The best in fresh, guaranteed.
Meet Stephen. Stephen and his new wife, Judy. Stephen, Judy, their triplets, and his ex-wife Phyllis and their child Brian. Stephen, Judy, and their triplets, ex-wife Phyllis and Brian, and his other ex-wife Janice and their kids Stewie and Louie. Stephen doesn't have a family that gets along. He also doesn't have a will. Where there's no will, there's chaos. Capital Legacy. Get your will done today. Capital Legacy is an authorized FSP underwritten by Guardrisk Life, a licensed life insurer.
Ever wondered how a single bet could change your life? Lotto Star invites you to try your luck on over 360 of our thrilling games, such as quick games, live games, real rush games, scratch cards, virtual games, lotteries, and the real jackpot race. You could go from zero to multi-millionaire instantly. Bet now on Lotto Star, your world of live games.
Lotto Star is licensed by the Mpumalanga Economic Regulator. No under 18s. National Responsible Gambling Program. 0800 006 008. T's and C's apply. All games are fixed odds betting events.
People are always asking me, bruh, how do you create these big summer parties, bro? Easy. Get Telkom Flex on 4. Call everyone on your phone.
Hello?
Hey, it's me. We met 3 years ago. They said. Flex your data on WhatsApp, Twitter, Facebook, and a Nyanga dance for TikTok.
Join the best value network and show up big. Get Telkom Flex on 4 SIM only with 4 gigs anytime data, 750 on-net minutes, and more for 169 Rand per month. Call 10213, click telkom.co.za, or go to any Telkom shop. T's and C's apply.
My passion? Serving unforgettable meals at my restaurant. But to do that, I need to get the word out. So I turned to Postnet. From vibrant business cards to irresistible menus, Postnet brings my vision to the table, literally. With Postnet, my restaurant isn't just known, it's loved.
At Postnet, we don't just print, we fuel local dreams. Postnet, empowering local businesses one step at a time, getting you across the line.
Everyone talks about value, and then there's ABSA Value. We give you room to breathe with up to 57 days interest-free on qualifying credit card purchases. Value-added benefits like up to 30% real cash back, depending on your tier, and not paying a cent for your rewards. It's all this and more.
Join the bank that does more and elevate to amazing value. Apply for an ABSA credit card or package today. Learn more at absa.co.za. ABSA is an authorized FSP and a registered credit provider. T's and C's apply.
Hardcore action at the Rugby World Cup.
Nos Buerta, former Springbok fly-half, leader, legend, you name it. Here's a game of this magnitude.
We would like to say, think outside the box. I think we're actually quite good at that at the moment.
Think out of the box. I love that. I think that's going to be our slogan. That's exactly what Coach Rassie Erasmus has been able to do, is that thinking out of the box. When you talk 7-1, the split, you talk about the confusion that causes.
Robert, you know what I like about it is that it irritates people. I want to force you to think the way I would like you to think. They've got 7 forwards that they can replace anytime.
Little show of the ball and away he goes. Living the dream. Hashtag MSW for rugby reality. The Room Dividers is more than just analysis. It's a lifestyle. Every Tuesday from 6 to 7 p.m. The Room Dividers. Robert, Tando and Ashwin interrogating more than just rugby issues. Tune in on Tuesdays for the experience. Vuma FM, Rise FM and Soweto Live.
Hi, good evening, Mr. Marawa. I think the hiring of Eddie Jones by the Australian was a publicity that had gone wrong. I don't know what's your take, but in my view, I think they hired him to try to revive the Australian rugby, which nobody cares about anymore. I don't know. What's your take? Thanks, David in Parkwood.
David in Parkwood, publicity that went wrong. Do you guys agree?
With the current team, I think Eddie Jones has taken a team of young players to a World Cup that will play teams which are battle-hardened veterans who are really skillful. The skill level in Australian rugby is not so good. You've only got to see that week in with New South Wales play Queensland or plays the Brumbies. We have moments of brilliance and then we have long periods of stupidity, and that is a reflection in the skill level in the game. And it's based on what I've always thought in recent times, that the power game has now replaced the skill level.
Hey, mate. There's no points in them, so it's just a shambles. It's just a hard watch. That's why we all watch rugby league, I guess, most of us. So yeah, I'm not a fan at the moment of that style. Leaving Hooper out as well, stuff like that. So yeah, just have me beer, forget about it.
It's very hard to see Eddie Jones surviving beyond this year. Whether or not it sees Jones sacked, resigned, RA won't want to pay Eddie Jones out a 5-year, $5 million deal. That's a lot of money. So if indeed Jones has been talking to the Japan Rugby Football Union, I'm sure that RA would negotiate a way that they wouldn't have to pay him out. But I can't see them sacking him purely because it's in the financial strain that the game is copping at the moment.
Is that part of the problem, is them having to pay him out and not getting him fired? Tanda Banana, your final take on Eddie Jones.
Rob, you've also got to look at the CEO, Phil Waugh. You know, it was his decision to bring Eddie Jones in. So therefore, if they don't have the financial stability that they talk of, I think the CEO should also follow Eddie Jones in that instance. It's not Eddie Jones who's firing himself.
Yeah, it's the people that took the decision.
It's the people that took that decision and to get Eddie in and give him a 5-year contract. I mean, we had the same situation with Rassie where he was signed for 6 years, and we made a noise about it. But he paid us with the 2019 Rugby World Cup, so therefore it was justifiable for him to have another 4 years post the 2019. So for us it was good fortunes, but from the start we had problems with him being afforded that opportunity of that long contract in his stay back from Munster. So therefore I'm in agreement that if they must take that decision, and it's all about governance now within the Australian Rugby League, they've got to take that decision. And if he has to go, he has to go. I mean, like I said earlier on, and I'm happy that I'm vindicated on that, if he is found to have chatted to Japan, then they don't have to pay him out. Then it's breach of contract based on how the contract looks like for him as a coach.
But difficult to
just
do
an
that.
Interesting one there. You know, so is Phil Waugh the actual CEO?
Yes.
So that's Phil Waugh, the flanker.
Yes.
Waratah's flanker. So therein also lies sort of some insight. Apparently it's a 5-year deal from what you hear there. So you could see it was an actual project. So because, the next World Cup is at home. It's in Australia. It makes a lot of sense then why Eddie is sort of taken the decision to go with a younger squad. It's really a case of you cannot win in this fashion if you're Eddie Jones, because he has sort of, the whole public sentiment is against him at this point, and you can see he's unapologetic about how he runs his team, who he selects, how he thinks they should be playing. And, it's unfortunate that he has to look for excuses in terms of it's not coming off. But that's the reality. It's not coming off. I think a seasoned campaigner like Eddie Jones, he doesn't go to the World Cup to go and embarrass himself.
Yeah.
You could clearly see that his plan didn't work. And Phil Waugh, interesting, because if you now look back in terms of Australian rugby history, then Phil Waugh himself would have been part and parcel of rugby at the time when Eddie Jones was there, and Eddie Jones was part of the Australian squad. Eddie Jones, you saw what he did with the Japan project, Japanese project. You look at the England project, the England project. And when he came over to South Africa to come and assist us right before the World Cup, the role that he played and the things that he contributed helped us actually ultimately being successful. So, it's not about questioning Eddie's coaching competency and capabilities. I think what Eddie is up against here is the fact that, he's put himself in a predicament where he has taken decisions that has literally left a large part of the supporting base not happy with his decisions, and now the result is also against him. So here's a classic example of whether or not the Australian Rugby Union, Phil Waugh as a captain, if they have what it takes to believe in Eddie Jones, because, how do you make this decision? And if they do decide to keep him, then who knows what can happen with the likes of Eddie Jones, because he's proven himself in the past to be a phenomenal coach that can really sort of turn the tide.
And a winner, because
indeed.
Ashwin, when it comes in, and both of you mentioned the project, the Australian project, but how wise is it to begin a project in January, knowing that 8 months later, you are going to have the World Cup? Should the project not then begin post the World Cup, so that when you leave out the big names, as you've mentioned earlier on, then it's understandable. But also, if you include them in the World Cup, then we say, okay, then the handover at a World Cup stage then makes sense to keep the old guard, see how far you go with them, and then start the so-called new project post the World Cup.
But Rob, let's look at also the Australian rugby competition. They've hit the ceiling.
Yeah.
In terms of how far they can progress. I hear what Ashwin is saying, but he's got to understand, without South Africa playing with them, they've actually regressed if you look at both countries, because they just play against each other.
Yeah.
There's nothing more that's there for them to be able to see where they are in terms of high performance rugby that they were so used to. I mean, actually, the Brumbies was always the team. Now you find a Western Force coming down to South Africa to play a few games against a cheetah side, because they need that much of rugby acumen and playing against tougher opposition, because they feel there's just not too much in it. I mean, as one of the commentators even saying that this Australian side is only made of the starting 15 of the Wallabies, of the Brumbies, of about 4 players. How do you then have the champions and only selecting 4 of those players from the Brumbies? That's the problem, is that he's got to try and put a team together, but what he does, he first eliminates the experience. You don't do that. You don't take away experienced players because you have something against them. I don't think even his campaign in the rugby champs was even poor, because he didn't win anything in the rugby championship. So it showed there, and him omitting those players was even worse. And that's why he's facing the gauntlet at this stage. And people are saying rather they watch the Australian Rugby League, which is just a fair assessment from them.
That is crazy. Guys, let's move on, because with the Springboks, there's a lot on the table that we need to go through. Lots of WhatsApp voice notes as they come through. As you know, South Africa this afternoon, and that's why I try to give the news as fresh as it comes in. Just a couple of minutes ago, the presser was held. Pool B game against Tonga being the main focus, a bonus point. As you know, a win for Jacques Nienaber's side. It should be enough, though, to see the defending champions going through to the quarterfinals. There are many permutations, though, currently in play with Ireland. 14 points from 3 games. Scotland, 5 points from 2 games that are there in the picture. We got word as well from the scrum coach, Don Human, who was asked about the points difference becoming vital in this game, and if they, as the Boks, are actually thinking about it.
I think we mustn't get too confused and getting too sidetracked with point difference. I think firstly we must focus to get a win, because we need a win to qualify. Then obviously I think it will sort itself out. Maybe in the back of our minds, I don't think when going to a scrum everybody's going to think about points difference, or in the next line out, listen, the points difference, we're not there yet. But I think obviously in our game plan and whatever we will prepare for going into the Tongan game, we will be able to, and I think we should be able to rectify us, get us right first, to get into the position, to score some points, and to then we can think about the rest.
Is that a sober approach, Ashwin Valensa, Thando Manana, to take? Ashwin?
Go in and win the game by as many points as you can. You know, points difference, it will come in the end. We've put ourselves in a very peculiar situation in that we've lost against Ireland. So, you know, it's Scotland, ourselves, and Ireland. So anything can still happen, as you've indicated in the opening in our pool. For us against Tonga is to go out and make sure we get as many points and exceed as little points as we can, win it comfortably, go out and sort of, it's not about confidence against Tonga in this one. It's really about going out and deciding what it is that we want to achieve today, maximum points. For me, if you look at again South Africa going into the next game, what will be different for us going into the next game is only the opposition. It's not us as a team, it's the opposition we're playing.
Yeah.
And so we should never forget that in that we were up against the world number one team. Thando made a beautiful example of the impact that South Africa leaving Sanza, what that has had on Australian rugby, and same can go for New Zealand. If you look at New Zealand where they are now, what it has done for Irish rugby, for European rugby to join the URC, completely different. You know, if you look at the Irish team, if you look at the Scottish team, you look at the French team, how all of the European teams, the days where it was a case of it is the Northern Hemisphere and the Southern Hemisphere and there's a distinct difference in styles of play, ways of play, is no longer there. So when we go up against Tonga, I think here it is where we're playing against the minnow. You know, in 2007 when we went in there, and it was interesting that Jake changed his team and he sort of put in, you know, myself, I was in that team. So it's almost like he put in sort of his second squad into that game. And we got into trouble into the game just because all of a sudden you have to put a team together. God plays against Tonga. Those guys come and you saw what Fiji did. So to do that, I think will most probably not be a wise thing to underestimate them in any way. What Rassie has done since 2019 was to be able to let every player understand that you are part of the team, part of the squad. So when we interchange, be comfortable with the fact that there will be a shake-up throughout the game. We will bring new players in and so forth. But it's how we are able to go and dominate in the games against Tonga and put as many points as we can on the scoreboard.
Fair enough. I mean, we need to secure that bonus point win against Tonga. I think whatever anybody says, but the way that Human has spoken, Thando, maybe first get your reflection on it.
Half time. What happens in the change room of the Scottish? They actually say, boys, we've got a game in our hand here.
Yeah.
These Tongans are coming for us. So you've got to wear them down. So I understand where he comes from. And I think that's where it's going to be important when South Africa is going to go for 80% of the team that will play in the quarterfinals, because after Tonga's game, they've got 2 weeks before the quarterfinals. So they've got an actual bye before. So they don't want to get the cold or mild or lukewarm. So they would want to have most probably their best team, maybe trying to save Bongi Mbonambi from starting that game because he's an outright hooker. That's the only one we have. You can change the scrum half, both scrum half can come on, so you have more there. But I also feel for the South African team, don't tweak too much up front. You can tweak in the back, and that's where for me is very important, is that whether you have a Mani Libok in the team or not, it's neither here or there. For me, what's important is South Africa has got to give us good, strong forwards up front and not just change for the sake of changing. Yes, Kwagga is good as an impact player. He gives you the explosiveness. But explosiveness in the first 40 minutes, Rob, is not something that I would go for. I'd go with a formidable starting 8, tweak a little bit in the back line, but on the bench, then you start bringing them on as you did against the Irish side, which didn't work. So for me, I'm happy because he's also worried. He didn't scrum well against Scotland in that game in Marseille. So there are a lot of eyes on him, And every time the South African is doing well is when the bomb squad front row comes in. So that's also questionable. Why is he keeping with a Kitchoff, with a Bongi, with a Marks then, as well as a Malherbe, instead of starting with a Trevor, with an Ox and a Bongi, because they scrum well. So most importantly for me is going to see how they go with the tight five going forward. So it's going to be Jean Klein. I can't play Jean Klein against Tonga. We'll have the same sentiments as what Ashwin is saying. I would rather go with a formidable Archie coming up. I wouldn't even bring in Marvin Ori, because you're sort of preparing for the quarterfinal. But also what's important, you want to secure that bonus point win.
Whatever happens, we know that a Handré Pollard will be there. They've spoken about it. We'll emphasize it straight after the break. He's played something like 40 minutes of rugby.
In the last 5 months?
Yes, in the last 5 months. 40 minutes of rugby, maximum. 30 minutes in terms of intensity, 40 minutes max. Is he ready to step in? And if he does, how will the technical team shake it up?
It's kickoff time. The Mighty Box take on the world.
He's got one already and he's going to get another.
The Rugby World Cup, all the news, all the views.
Springboks with a penalty advantage.
All the action, right here on Marawa Sports Worldwide.
They have to scramble.
Hashtag MSW with Marawa on 947. Vuma FM, Rise FM, and Sowetan Live.
1 million rand is up for grabs with Hollywood Bets Spinner Zonke's new prize drops. Spin for 2 rand or more on designated pragmatic play games every Tuesday and Thursday from 8:30 to 10:30. Hollywood Bets. Take a spin with us. T's and C's apply. Hollywood Sportsbook is a licensed betting operator. Hollywood Bet supports responsible gambling. No persons under the age of 18 years are permitted to gamble. Winners know when to stop. South African Responsible Gambling Foundation toll-free counselling line 0800 006 008 or WhatsApp help to 076 675 0710.
Start thinking about your future degree. The IIE MSA campus in the West Rand is hosting an open day on Saturday the 30th of September. Meet our academics to discuss IIE bachelor and postgraduate degrees in a wide range of study areas. Explore the largest private higher education campus in South Africa and experience the exciting student life. For more info, visit iiemsa.co.za. IIE MSA is a leading brand of the Independent Institute of Education, a registered higher education provider.
Don't you wish your phone was fun like you? The new Galaxy Z Flip 5. Fit for self-expression. That's in your pocket. Take your best selfies, hands down and hands free. Buy now and you'll get Galaxy Buds 2 Pro valued at 3,999. The new Galaxy Z Flip 5. Join the flip side. T's and C's apply.
Dis-Chem makes healthy living easier for you with the best deals on the widest range of products. Keep your family feeling great and save when you buy any 3 Future Life products and get the cheapest one free. Fill your pantry with 20% off lifestyle food products and buy any 2 Lifestyle Food Long Life Milk 6-packs for 180 Rand. Healthy living now on until 15 October. In-store and online. Only at Dis-Chem. Better health starts here.
Westlife are coming to South Africa with a Wild Dreams Tour. Due to overwhelming demand, a third Pretoria date has been added. 5 November, Sunbed Arena, Times Square. Performing all your favorite Westlife hits and more. Tickets on sale now exclusively from Ticketmaster.co.za. Brought to you by 947. Another big concerts experience.
When you choose Plascon, you choose strong and get your share of 10 million Rand in guaranteed rewards. Spend a minimum of 1,500 Rand on any Plascon products and claim your share. Plus, you'll be placed in the daily draw for the chance to win a 1,000 Rand grocery voucher and the fortnight draw for the chance to win one of 7 inverters with 10,000 Rand. Competition ends 30 September. T's and C's apply. Details at pluscon.com.
Hardcore action at the Rugby World Cup.
He's got his coffee in hand. Nos Botha, our former Springbok fly-half, leader, legend, you name it. What kind of coffee do you drink, Nos?
No, I'm one of those guys. I do drink a lot of coffee, and I actually stick to Jacob's coffee.
I always knew you were a Jacob fan.
Yeah. Yeah, always. But coffee, okay? Coffee. Let's keep it to coffee.
I know you, my friend. Always switched on. You're always going to catch that one either way.
Little show of the ball and away he goes.
Living the dream. Hashtag MSW for rugby reality. Do you want to obsess over advanced rugby stats and understand sophisticated analytical arguments about your favorite player? It's all available on 947. That hashtag MSW. Vuma FM, Rise FM, and Soweto Live. Every Tuesday from 6 to 7 p.m. with Robert, Tando, and Ashwin. Be there.
Hi, Mr. Marawa. My name is Jabulo Malinga, and I just want to focus on the Boks. I thought the Boks were going to win that game because if we had our kicking boots on, we should have won the game probably by 2 or 3 points. And it's starting to be a problem, our kicking game, because many people might say that Mani Libok wasn't playing the best game of his life, or Faf de Klerk, but I think we should sort that matter as soon as possible if we want to go further into the tournament. And I'm happy that the coaches have brought back an experienced player like Andre Pollard, who's going to settle in that position really well. Thank you, Mr. Marawa.
Thank you so much indeed. All the contributions that are coming through. It is a Room Dividers joining us right here on 947 Rise FM, Vuma FM, and Soweto Live. It's your Tuesday dose of rugby. And if you're watching on the YouTube channel, thank you very much indeed. Also following on social media platforms on Twitter. You can call it X now. This is Untato. Untato says, thank you for the Room Dividers. Tando Banana, Ashwin Willemse are truly giving us sober analysis. What's your contribution? I see also on the YouTube channel, Benny Mabeba says, you got to love it. He says, thank you. We can safely say that we need another kicker or we sold the game. Thinking out loud. Ezra shares shout out from Uganda. Thank you so much for watching all the way in Uganda to the Room Dividers. Shigaga says, Tando is correct. The All Blacks as well as the Aussies made wrong decisions when they decided to divorce themselves from us. Look at us. We play domestic and European tournaments, and we are miles ahead of them. Are you in agreement or are you in disagreement with that? We're going to get to the kicking story in just a second, because that has been a dominant one. Whichever way you look, it is talk about South Africa. What do we need to do? We are giving away points that we cannot afford to give away. But Flanker Kwagga Smith, though, he spoke about how the team is feeling following that defeat against the one and only Ireland.
I think for us, it's not to focus too much on it. The sun's shining today. You can't look back. We can't do anything about it. The nice thing is that it wasn't for the World Cup. It wasn't for the Cup. It was an important game, but we can focus on the next game. We got Tonga next. It's going to be a physical battle. And we want to make sure that we get our 5 points there to set us up to go through. So yeah, we're definitely going to learn from what mistakes we made in that game against Ireland and try and rectify that and make sure that we're in top form when we're going into the next game against Tonga.
All right, the sun's shining. I love that approach as well. Okay, let's find out what the captain himself, that is Siya Kolisi, word that's just come through from him.
We didn't lose the game in one department. There were a lot of, we gave away, I think, 12 penalties. Yeah. And a lot of them were in the breakdown. Some attacking and some defensive breakdown. So you can't blame one specific area. We got to get better. And we created such good opportunities, and then we go to the 22 and we didn't take those opportunities. And in a game like this, in a level like this, if you don't take those opportunities, this is what happens. But I thought quite a few things went well. I thought our D was good. And I think, as Jacques said, as the intensity of the game was exactly what we needed for a lot of the players that have never played under such intensity. I mean, the whole atmosphere was amazing on the field, but we know exactly what we need to do as a group, and we've got to lift our heads. We've got a big game coming next week. I mean, if we're going to dwell too much on what happened today, and we'll forget to perform next week, because we need to get through that one, and then we can start thinking about afterwards. But Tonga is an important game.
An important game to focus in. Okay, straightforward. Ashwin Willemse, you go first. Who should do the kicking?
I think maybe we should give Mani some Jacob's coffee. Drop goals. Yeah, so drop goals. I think if you look at the game on Sunday, there was he talked, so let me bring the context of Manie Libbok saying that the presence of a Handré Pollard in the team is helping him playing a better game. So you could see the experience of a Pollard and how Pollard, at number 10, Pollard has, not just as he arguably one of the greatest stands that we've ever had in world rugby, but he has the experience that comes with it. So how many opportunities was there in the game to have a drop goal or an attempt to a drop goal? So how effective can we bring in the drop goal? Now, the vision that a Pollard has, already you can see that will assist us a great deal. Manie has done exactly the same as what Eddie has done. When you lose a game like what we've done against Ireland, then people forget how brilliant you are in terms of playing the game and all of those things. They say, listen, you have to kick those ones and get them over and win. And that's the responsibility of the number 10. Remember, Alton Jantjies has found himself in that position many times ago. And you cannot, unfortunately, is the way it is. That's rugby, and people are going to judge you on the basis of that. In my view, I think Manie Libbok, what he brings to the Bok team at number 10, Pollard coming in. Pollard is a class act, so you don't lose anything there. In terms of kicking, Sia's defended Manie's kicking. Sia's defended the fact that the team supports that. When it comes down to the knockout stages, the importance of knocking over those kicks, and imagine the pressure on a Pollard coming in and having to come into the team to really come and say, I'll take the kicks. I'll make sure we get those points, And Pollard hasn't had the timing of the ball, the timing of the kicks. So we really in a catch-22. And I almost want to say that both players has done enough to justify their selection on the day.
Not only Sia has defended him, I can put on the table, Jacques Nienaber has defended him. Rassie Erasmus has defended him. Rassie even saying that Manie is playing brilliant fly-half rugby at the moment. Johnny Saxton says Manie did some amazing things like setting up the try. He's a handful with the ball. He has an array of tricks, but every kicker goes through a stage in their career. And I had a similar one back in 2011 at the Rugby World Cup. It's tough, but you get stronger off the back of that. And when you do come out of the other side, you indeed become a better kicker. I don't think there's a kicker in the world that hasn't gone through that period. He's an outstanding player, and it gives them a different dimension, end quote. That is from the one and only Johnny Saxton.
Rob, I'll say one thing. Where we are now, we need a recognizable kicker.
Do we have?
We can bring him on. You don't have to have a kicking fly-half. I don't understand people thinking that if you're playing fly-half, you should also be the place kicker. French had number 9s doing the place kicking. French nowadays have a fullback kicking. I don't see a point of taking out a Jesse Creel and bringing in a Pollard at 12. Keeping Manie. We've scored more tries with him. That's why he gets those compliments. Because we're scoring tries. Rassie, Jacques. So the opening is you don't have a Lucanio M. I don't recognize Jesse Creel. He was nowhere in the game. In fact, in the 73rd minute, when the score was 8-10, Ireland pounced the ball, kicked it down. He picked it up. He tried to beat 7 defenders. It was a 10-over ball, which effectively led to a scrum 5 meters from a South African try line, and they got a penalty because it was unstable for the second time from Ben O'Keefe. He punished us. They got a penalty. Then the score is 13-8. Therefore, I will say, stick with Manie. He's your informed fly-half. You need him. You take Pollard to 12. You bring in a Damian Dialinda. Now, what the permutation are on defense is totally up to you as a defending team. Whether you bring Dialinda on the 12th channel, on the first channel where they went through, obviously they could want to pounce there because they know both players are not very physical in terms of the D-line, but you can always swap with Dialinda. And Dialinda, when M had to shift to wing, which for me was never the right option, but now it works for them. Now you can play a Damian Dialinda on 13 as an outside center. But please leave the 7-1 split. It's costing us. So if you have that, you can go back to the traditional 5-3. Therefore, you've got someone who plays center and so forth. You've got all the position in those last 3 spaces for the backline player. Therefore, who kicks for poles? Problem solved. Who then runs our backline? problem solved. Then you've just got to make sure that the team gels as one. There is space, Robert. That's why you left out a hooker in Joseph Dweba to bring in a Pollard. Then play him, not off the bench, because time is running out. And if you want to win the World Cup and defend the World Cup, you've got to make those tough
And you
choices.
start them as early as Tonga. You start them as early
There's
as
only
now.
one- there's only one game left.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. You
Yes.
start it as early as now. You don't bank on something that we don't have, as a lot of people have been doing, saying that, well, automatically we just need to choose between a France or a New Zealand who to play against, because the game of rugby can shock you and surprise you.
In 2007, he sits across me.
Yeah.
Who kicked for Poles? Montgomery. Who played fly off?
Boots. So Tando has just actually put there what's a potential scenario, which I think it's a wonderful one. Pollard at 12. So to play at 12, even Aaron Major has done it,
Yes.
Daniel Carter has done it. It's nothing new. So to play Pollard at 12 and Damien Dalinda, I mean, he's competent at 13 as well. So, whether you play him or whether you move Damien to the bench and then Dalinda to the bench and you keep Jesse Creel. So I think to play Pollard at 12 is a definite option. And Pollard and Mane, I think they'll complement each other very, very nicely as well. So there is... to the point, we need a reliable goal kicker.
Yeah.
Right? One where when there's a penalty, whoever has the ball takes it to the reliable goal kicker. And that's it. So who is that reliable goal kicker? And Pollard seems to be the person that we say is that one. So then have a Pollard on the field. And if you're going to play him this weekend, a 10-12 combination between Pollard and then you still got Damien Willems at 15. Now you have three fly halves on the field. So the ability to get the ball, distribute the ball, play both sides of the rucks, fast pace playing that. I think for South Africa, it's just more options. So it really comes down to selection. You're also not happy with a 7-1 split.
No, I'm never been.
Yes. So all of a sudden, what we have here is a case of how do you pick the team that goes on the field that gives you sort of a reassurance that, you know what, the lights and the innovative team selection, bring it back to here's the base, here's who's going on the field, and this will be the team that takes us all the way through to the eventual final, hopefully.
All right, so just very quickly though, before we get to your final thoughts.
Yeah, for us as a team, we 100% believe that we can win it. So for us, it's basically just our belief system. We believe we definitely can still win the World Cup. For us, it's just going out there and just executing our role and just doing our job.
Yeah, that's the belief coming through, though, from South African scrum half Jaden Hendricks. He was asked if he still believes that South Africa can win the World Cup, and that's what he had to say about it. And I know you were not happy. You almost punched me watching the game with you. That's how physical this man gets. Dion Fourie at lineouts. You were not happy with that?
Rob, the scenario of us having the makeshift hookers is one that we've got to live with.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. I don't see us replacing, even if there's another injury, I potentially see that we'll find another backline coming in because the scrum half are not getting injured to be sent home. So what I'm trying to say is a Dion Fourie will be on the bench or a Marco van Staden will be on the bench as a replacement hooker. Who that is, it depends up to them. But what we do know, we've got to make sure that Bongi survives throughout this tournament. If Bongi doesn't survive, we're in big trouble. That I can tell you now.
Anthony Ambrose says that Springboks have got this. We have strength in all positions. The kicking can be improved. Bring Pollard to center. Money at 10. Pollard can kick. Playmaker is money. And I think similar to what you were saying that there are ways of playing around with all of these formations, but you've got the personnel who can pull it off as well. Now, gentlemen, obviously time not on our side. We've got this, as who's this Anthony Ambrose says on Twitter. But we could have won the game. As much as people focus on the Manila Bok issues, that South Africa could have won the game. We had a chance to win it in the 79th minute. There were other chances where we could have won the game as well. But collectively, you get the last word. Ashwin Willemse, how we move forward?
We lost by 5 points against the world number one team. I think it's not it doesn't define who we are as a team. And, what we've discussed here in terms of the potential combination, 10-12 combination, I think that's a wonderful combination, can take us anywhere. So we, as the Springboks second-ranked team in the world, defending champions, I think we have what it takes. It's really a case of, on the day, the team selection and, to miss a penalty, to not take a drop goal, to not be in a position to execute on those things. I think that's the lesson perhaps that we needed to learn in the World Cup at this stage, up against a quality opposition like Ireland, potential World Cup final, Ireland, South Africa. I think we have what it takes to take it further.
20 seconds, Manana.
I would select a team that would face France in the quarterfinals up against Tonga. I don't care. We're the defending champs. It's not about giving caps or test caps or resting. It's about defending what is ours. Remember, we lose against a French team, we get to OR Tambo the following day, and that's the end of the story.
Says a man who's used to flying first class. He knows how quickly that flight can be back home. Mr. Banana, thank you so much indeed. Ashwin Willem, sir, I appreciate you, sir. Reaction Tuesdays at 947 with F&B, a proud sponsor of the Springboks. F&B, a division of First Rand Bank Limited, has switched off his mic deliberately. He'll speak to us off air. That's where he belongs.
It's an ever-clear fact that rugby analysis is still stuck in the year 2015. Just one flimsy opinion against another. With no empirical evidence to back up these statements, the room dividers will change all that. Every